The air crackled with anticipation, a palpable energy coursing through the crowd. As Brice Oligui Nguema took the oath of office, a moment that many had been eagerly awaiting. It was May 3, 2025, a date that would be etched into the annals of Gabonese history. The venue was the Ngonja Stadium in Libreville, Gabon, a place that had seen many significant events but none quite like this. Dignitaries from across the African continent had gathered to witness this historic moment, a testament to the importance of this transition. Oligui, formerly the head of Gabon's elite Republican Guard, stood tall in his military uniform, exuding confidence and authority. He swore to uphold the Constitution and serve the people of Gabon, a pledge that resonated deeply with the crowd. His inauguration marked the beginning of a new chapter for the nation, a chapter filled with both promise and challenges. The stadium was awash in color, a vibrant tapestry of hope and celebration. The vibrant green, yellow, and blue of the Gabonese flag adorned every corner, a symbol of national pride and unity. A wave of cheers erupted as Oligui concluded his oath, a collective sigh of relief and joy. This was not just the inauguration of a president, it was the symbolic end of an era, a turning point in Gabon's history. For the first time in over half a century, Gabon would be led by someone outside the Bongo family. The atmosphere was electric, charged with the promise of change. Traditional dancers and musicians filled the stadium with the sounds and rhythms of Gabon, a celebration of the nation's rich cultural heritage. A military parade showcased the nation's armed forces, a display of strength and discipline. The event was a carefully choreographed spectacle designed to convey a sense of unity and national pride, a message that resonated with everyone present. Among the high-profile guests were leaders from the Gambia, Senegal, Djibouti, Equatorial Guinea, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Rwanda, each bringing their own hopes and expectations for Gabon's future. Their presence underscored the significance of this transition of power for Gabon and the wider region, a beacon of hope for many. Oligui's inauguration was the culmination of a tumultuous period in Gabonese history, a time marked by uncertainty and upheaval. It followed a coup d'état in August 2023 that ousted Ali Bongo Ondimba, whose family had ruled Gabon for 55 years, a dramatic end to a long-standing dynasty. The coup, led by Oligui himself, brought a swift end to the Bongo dynasty, a move that was both bold and controversial. It also ushered in a period of uncertainty and hope in equal measure, a new era that held the promise of a brighter future for Gabon. The Bongo family's long reign had left a complex legacy on Gabon. The country, rich in natural resources, particularly oil, had seen both progress and stagnation under their rule. Omar Bongo Ondimba, Ali's father, came to power in 1967. His ascent marked the beginning of an era that would see Gabon transform in many ways. He ruled for 42 years, becoming one of Africa's longest-serving leaders, establishing a system characterized by tight control over political life and the concentration of power within his inner circle. This centralization of power allowed for stability, but also stifled political dissent. While Gabon boasted significant oil wealth which brought in substantial revenue, it remained plagued by inequality and underdevelopment. The wealth generated from oil did not trickle down to the majority of the population. Ali Bongo succeeded his father in 2009, amid hopes and promises promising a break from the past and a new era of transparency and progress. He aimed to modernize Gabon and address the issues that had long plagued the nation. However, his rule was marred by allegations of corruption, which undermined his credibility, electoral irregularities, and human rights abuses. These issues led to widespread disillusionment among the populace. The gap between the wealthy elite, who lived in luxury, and the majority of the population continued to widen. This economic disparity fueled social tensions. Frustration grew among ordinary Gabonese who felt left behind despite the country's natural resources. They demanded more equitable distribution of wealth. Who felt left behind despite the country's natural resources. The promise of prosperity seemed out of reach for many. The August 2023 coup reflected this simmering discontent. It was a dramatic turn of events that shocked the nation. It was met with mixed reactions. Some saw it as a necessary change. Some celebrated the end of the Bongo dynasty, viewing it as an opportunity for a fresh start. While others expressed concerns about the military's intervention in politics, they feared it could lead to further instability. The international community condemned the coup, emphasizing the importance of democratic processes and called for a return to constitutional order. Diplomatic efforts were made to restore stability. However, there was also an acknowledgement of the need to address the underlying issues that had fueled the takeover. The coup was seen as a symptom of deeper problems within Gabonese society that had fueled the takeover. Analysts pointed to long-standing grievances and systemic issues. Oligui's subsequent election victory in December 2023, with nearly 95% of the vote, further cemented the end of the Bongo era. It was a decisive moment in Gabon's history. Further cemented the end of the Bongo era. The transition marked a significant shift in the country's political landscape. While the election was criticized by some as lacking credibility with allegations of irregularities, it nonetheless reflected a desire for change among the Gabonese populace. People were eager for a new direction. The question now was whether Oligui, the man who had overthrown the old order, could deliver on the promise of a new Gabon. The nation watched with cautious optimism. Could deliver on the promise of a new Gabon. The future of the country hung in the balance with hopes for a brighter tomorrow.
Check one, check.
From the outset, Oligui sought to distance himself from the Bongo regime, which had ruled Gabon for over 5 decades. He aimed to present himself as a leader of a new generation, one that would break away from the past and usher in a new era of governance. He pledged to break with the country's history of dynastic politics, which many believed had stifled progress and fostered corruption. Oligui promised to restore dignity to the Gabonese people, who had long felt marginalized and neglected by their leaders. He vowed to return what he described as stolen wealth, aiming to redistribute resources more equitably among the population. His campaign slogan, "We Build Together," resonated deeply with a population yearning for unity and progress, and it became a rallying cry for his supporters. During his time as the head of the Republican Guard, Oligui had developed a reputation for being a shrewd and ambitious operator, navigating the political landscape with skill. He was seen as a close confidant of Omar Bongo, the longtime ruler, but kept a lower profile during Ali Bongo's presidency, allowing him to avoid the controversies that plagued the administration. This calculated approach allowed him to navigate the complexities of Gabonese politics, building alliances and positioning himself as a key player. As a result, he emerged as a significant figure in the post-coup landscape, with many looking to him for leadership and direction. Oligui's initial actions as transitional leader seemed to signal a commitment to reform, with a focus on transparency and accountability. He launched high-profile construction projects promising to revamp the country's crumbling infrastructure, which had long been a source of frustration for citizens. He also vowed to tackle corruption, a deeply entrenched problem that had plagued Gabon for decades, promising to hold those responsible accountable. These early moves were met with cautious optimism by some, who saw them as a sign that Oligui was serious about bringing about meaningful change. However, skepticism lingered among others, who questioned whether these initiatives would lead to lasting improvements. Critics argued that these were merely superficial attempts to appease the public and international community, without addressing the root causes of the country's issues. They pointed to the lack of concrete plans for tackling systemic issues such as poverty, inequality, and the need for economic diversification. The lack of diversification in the Gabonese economy remained a significant challenge, with many sectors underdeveloped and reliant on oil. The true test, they argued, would be whether Oligui's words would be translated into tangible improvements in the lives of ordinary Gabonese who had long awaited real change. Despite its oil wealth, Gabon faces a multitude of challenges. Years of mismanagement and corruption have left the country's infrastructure in a dire state. Roads are often impassable, particularly during the rainy season, hindering economic activity and access to essential services. The electricity network is unreliable, with frequent power outages affecting businesses and households alike. Diversifying the economy away from its over-reliance on oil is another pressing concern. Gabon's economy remains heavily dependent on oil exports, making it vulnerable to fluctuations in global oil prices. While the country possesses other natural resources such as timber and manganese, these sectors remain underdeveloped and have not been effectively leveraged to create a more resilient and balanced economy. Youth unemployment is a major challenge, with estimates suggesting that around 40% of young Gabonese are unemployed. This situation fuels social unrest and hinders the country's long-term development prospects. The education system, while theoretically free and compulsory, suffers from a lack of resources and qualified teachers, particularly in rural areas. This results in a skills gap that further limits employment opportunities for young people. Addressing these challenges will require a concerted and long-term effort. It will necessitate not only significant financial investment, but also a genuine commitment to good governance, transparency, and accountability. Whether Oligui's administration can muster the political will and capacity to tackle these deeply rooted problems remains to be seen. As we delve into the intricacies of our current economic landscape, it becomes clear that understanding these dynamics is crucial for everyone. It's not just about numbers and charts. It's about the real impact on people's lives. From small business owners to large corporations, the ripple effects are felt across the board. So let's break it down and navigate these economic waters together. As with any major event, controversies and concerns have arisen. Critics argue that the decision-making process lacked transparency, and some fear the potential long-term impacts. Questions about accountability and ethics are at the forefront of public discourse. The international community is watching closely. Allies and adversaries alike are weighing in, each with their own stakes and interests. The ripple effects of this event could reshape geopolitical dynamics in unforeseen ways. Looking forward, the path is filled with challenges and opportunities. Policymakers and leaders must navigate a complex landscape to ensure stability and progress. The choices made in the coming days will be crucial for the future. We are undoubtedly in a time of uncertainty. The world is holding its breath, waiting to see how events unfold. In these moments, resilience and adaptability will be key. Only time will tell what lies ahead.